3, 2, 1, go. Am I gonna build? Okay, there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game 3.
Two.
That is to say, game 2. Okay, of uh, of our full random series here between Michael. This is interesting. It's showing Michael Pick and Goobernugget. Are you
Yep.
seeing that?
Yeah, Lgreen changed his username to Michael Pick, I think, to match his either Steam profile or something of that nature. So
I gotcha. That makes sense. I'm also seeing an Elo next to these players. For whatever reason, 816 on Goobernugget and 597 next to Michael Pick. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that, but I don't know how accurate it is.
yeah,
Anyway,
it's odd that it shows an Elo for this game, but it sounds like that's their actual online 1v1 Elo.
it also could be capture age just pulling some numbers out of its butt because I don't know how accurate that is for Goobernugget either. But regardless, we're here on Hideout, game 2. Lgreen, formerly Lgreen, took the victory here in the green as usual. Um, I'm trying to remember the civs they played.
Yeah, it was Arena, Green. So again, this is random Civ generation. So Green got it was the Malians came out with an early castle drop and then just started shooting out the Gebettos. For Goobernugget in the pink in game 1, I think it was the Dravidians. Yeah, the Dravidians. Close game, but it all came down to early pressure
Right, yeah.
from Green. So um, we'll see how the strategies will work in this game. If Green thinks that he got a lot of success last time just from going with an early castle, he may try to do it again.
A pretty solid strategy from Green. Obviously, like we've talked about before, Michael Pick, Green, he has a proficiency at fast castle, so that gives him an advantage over players like Goobernugget, who, even though he may not be slow to castle age, he certainly is not as fast to castle age to an actual, more importantly, to an actual castle on the field as Lgreen is. And so in this kind of situation, especially like the last game, Arena, Lgreen able to get the early pressure out with a castle on Goobernugget's walls. In Arena, you're sitting tight, you're kind of chilling, you're thinking, I'm going to go heavy eco, clearly what Goobernugget did. And the pink player took the loss that game because the pressure came out from green a lot earlier than pink was probably expecting. And so you can't really react when all you're doing is building up eco, and suddenly there's a castle right outside your stone walls, which formerly, up until that point, made you feel so safe. So a map like this could be an interesting balance. But I'd like to see a little bit more aggression from pink here, a little bit less sitting back and trying to sit on eco, as he only has palisade walls. Also, as Green Scout follows Pink's into his base, both of them at 21 health. Looks like they're going to go for the 50-50.
Let's see.
And Pink takes it.
Wow.
A little bit of a stroke of luck there from Pink, able to get a shot off from the town center to even that out.
So Green will be without vision for the rest of this early game.
Look at this. 2 minutes of idle TC from Goobernugget already. This is early game. In one way, it doesn't matter all that much. These aren't pro players, so he's probably going to make that up later from time that Green spins with idle TC. But on the other side of that coin, it's early game. You're 8 minutes in. You're not even into feudal age yet. It's vital that you're juicing every second of economy as out of these villagers as you can. And well, I say that now there's only one vill difference, but I brought that up because I was looking at a 2 or 3 vill difference in Dark Age. But it seems like that seems like that shouldn't be happening here. But
Yeah, and actually, I think it's gonna have a bigger impact than Pink realizes, because the reason we're only 1 vill away is because Green's already almost up to feudal age.
yeah,
Now, Goobernugget with his military lead 1-0 can come back and slowly but surely put a hole in this wall if Green doesn't pay attention.
always on hideout. That could be an issue. Obviously, later in the game, you don't expect the palisade walls to be your main line of defense, but early, they're enough. And so if there's a little bit of a breach, that could be a problem.
Yeah, I think the
Goobernugget.
other half of that,
Go ahead.
the vision that you get from the walls all around your base, nobody can sneak in. People would be forced to build something outside the walls, which generally speaking,
Right.
you have a good bit of space between the wall and most of your buildings. So that's another underrated portion of this map, is just being able to see any early pressure before it gets inside your base.
Yeah. This is going to be a pretty interesting matchup here. So, Green, absolutely on fire on his way to Castle Age already. 660 food. He's already passed the gold threshold to be able to click up. He's got the blacksmith. He's got the market. The only difference being Pink is the Kumans, which means as he just hit feudal age, he's able to go ahead and put a second TC down. And you see double bit axe, wheelbarrow, horse collar, and gold mining come out, getting all of his eco upgrades as he's getting that second TC out. He wants to. He probably knows or suspects a fast castle, especially since he's seeing this market from Green already. This is a typical strategy from Green. It's not silly to expect that from this player. So this is going to be interesting. Is Pink going to kind of pressure hard in feudal age, as at least is going to be able to have that economy bonus, that little bump from the double TC in feudal. Like to see what kind of difference that could make. And yet, here we are, Green, already halfway to Castle Age. He's got 11 Avils on stone. He's prepping for a castle. 2 TCs are nice, but I'd like to see some more direction from Pink this game than in the last one.
Yeah, it looks like Green moving forward with Vills, but there's a scout right in the way. Scout obviously low health, but again, that's visibility that's worth more than some military units in some cases. Not sure if you've
And
noticed it,
again, just like last game, right?
right?
Misses.
Walking right
Yep,
past the scout.
walking right past an absolute stroke of unfortune on Green's part, and yet Pink just not seeming to pick up that information, not moving the scout, and now we have a Green player sitting in Castle Age. Field's walking up. Soon we'll have enough stone to drop a castle, so this will be interesting. Pink does take the Vill lead. And he's trying to make use of those TCs, so this economy difference could be pretty interesting. And look at this, a barracks coming down for Pink. He doesn't have a market or a blacksmith yet. He's not anxious to get to Castle Age here. Second TC coming down from Green.
Totally different strategies. What's also interesting though is that if Green tries to come in with a castle, he would want to put it right on the walls. But because of the the trees outside of Goobernugget's base to the north, there's really not a good spot. He can't put it directly out from a gate. As we know, gates have a little bit more vision, but 2 tiles out from a regular wall is the limit of that vision for that player. So, but again, there's really no spot to the north. So he would either have to move to the south, where it looks like there's a little bit more space,
Right.
away from the gates, or back it up. Looks like he will just back up a bit. Will still be in range of the walls, but that's it. That'll get you in, but you're not attacking anything on the inside.
We see Pink, you know, he's he's actually scouting now, running around with his scout, trying to get an idea on what Green is doing. And he's not going to see any military buildings here. But before he figures that out, he's probably going to be seeing this arrow fire from Green's castle. He's going to see the second TC from Green and probably starts to piece together, you know, what exactly is going on here. And sure enough, this castle is going to go up uncontested. You know, it is kind of an awkward spot. You know, Green finds himself, he goes around the north instead of around the south. So he's not contesting any resource. He's really just putting a sense of pressure down. He's not actually contesting resource. He's not putting pressure on a building. He's breaking a wall, and he's, you know, getting Pink's heart rate up a little bit. So it is kind of like you're saying, you know, it's kind of an awkward spot for a castle. Yet it's Britain's, you know. Your castle may not be in the best spot, but when you put longbowmen on the field, it doesn't really matter where they are, because they can reach just about everything.
Yeah,
as he does Q1 up.
Yeah, so yeah, just like you said, with that range, longbowmen could sit underneath the protection of the castle and still hit a lot of these buildings and units from Goobernugget.
Goobernugget already moving to skirms. He knows Green is the Britons and has a castle and is undoubtedly going to be making longbowmen. So making the smart move here with skirms, but feudal age skirmishers, not even elite skirmishers, are nowhere near enough to deal with a group of longbowmen. So he's going to have to jump up to castle age. He does he has a stable, throws a second stable down, and he does have the blacksmith and market. So I guess we can expect him to get to castle age, but look, I mean, 300 food, 400 gold. He's got a lot of stone. He just doesn't seem anxious to get to castle age still.
Yeah, spending a lot of those resources on units. Of course, when you have a castle on your base, that's certainly an appropriate instinct, but will delay him from going up to castle.
The Cumans create cavalry archers. I believe their elite unit is the Kipchak, and I believe they create cav archers, if not all cavalry units, something like 20 to 25% quicker as a baseline stat. And so, you know, we see Goob think, okay, I don't have the gold, or I don't really have buildings to make very good gold units to begin with right now. So he goes for the scout cav. Kind of an interesting pick. He does have double stable, so he's going to be able to make them pretty quickly. He has a skirms to deal with the longbowmen, but again, I mean, this is 6 longbowmen, 9 skirms. I don't even think that's enough. Longbowmen are so strong. As Green does put a couple stables next to that castle.
Yeah, certainly not strong enough to sit under castle fire if Green retreats.
Right.
So if you're Goob, you're now going up to castle age. You have a huge economy lead. Your goal here is to survive. Eventually, you'll be able to overpower Green in this situation, but Question is, can he survive it for long enough?
So we see a third TC come down for green, and he does have the Vil lead. And yet, we're looking at 2,000 more resources collected from Goob. He is amassing scouts south of his base. This is 12 scouts with foraging.
Yeah, so could be thinking of a return attack. Maybe a raid if possible, if you could get into the walls of green. Meanwhile, green coming out with knights. So he saw the skirms. Wanted to be able to take out those skirms so we can move the longbowmen in. And he'll do that now with a ram coming out from Goob.
So a little bit of unfortunate timing. If Goob can't take out the... Excuse me, if Goob can't take out the knights, yeah, he's likely going to lose this ram. So a good timing on that push from green with the knights. He's going to get some Vil kills here as they move to the town center. So, what do you do? Knights in your base, 8 longbowmen in your base. He makes a camel rider. Looks like he's queuing up a couple camel riders here. And as we see pretty often from this player, his defense is offense.
Right,
And
yep.
we're seeing that with 13 scout cav sitting under green's TC. They're not gonna break that really anytime soon. These are more of a raiding unit at this point, but and here he goes. Yep, he's gonna go for a palisade wall, try to break that down and get into green space. So I mean, it's a valid strategy. You know, it works. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. He has the camel riders to help with the knights. This is an interesting situation here. He's got knights above, knights below. Green bring his longbowmen down south. Looks like he's just trying to get an idea of what's going on down there. As pink goes for a castle drop.
Yeah,
Pretty
smart
hefty on the
from Pink,
villagers as well.
as he does break through the walls of green. So we've got action on both sides. Green trying to wall up to keep these scouts from going into raiding mode, but they're gonna do some damage.
Goob has picked up the light cav upgrade, so he's leaning into the scout line. Scouts, you know, a pretty good option on a map like Hideout. There's not much to stop them from getting into a base, and all of a sudden green has to deal with a defensive castle here protecting Goob's gold. All he has is longbowmen, so Goob is gonna pull his camels back after they have done their job cleaning up those knights. these light cav just harassing green's backline economy.
Yeah, doing
Getting
a
a lot
lot
of
of
value.
damage. Looks like green, you can tell he is not focused at home. Lost so many villagers.
Trading blows a little bit. I mean, this is 29 Vil kills from Goob and 17 from Green, so it's not like Green is the only one hurting here. As he does get the pikemen in, able to clean up those scout cav, those light cav.
So what a great and successful play from Goob to send those scouts into raid while getting pressured at home.
Very crucial. It looks like Goob has had Vil production going pretty consistently because, you know, you see a pretty... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, that is the regular overall KD of both players is 27 to 29. The eco KD, Michael Pick with 2 villager kills. I misspoke earlier. Michael Pick with 2 villager kills. Goob with 21 villager kills. Setting the eco difference to a 20 Vil difference, 30 to 50.
Wow.
Much
So
bigger
it's really
difference
now
than
or
I...
never.
Yeah, yeah. Goob coming out with the Kipchaks. Fast firing archer cav unit. Needs something to be able to contest these longbowmen and knights to help the camels.
Yeah, pretty good unit composition from Green,
Yep.
but is taking fire from every direction at this point. And Goob's economy able to keep up with it, able to continue to build these units.
Yep, Goob's got the backbone to keep the unit production up, and he's not building very expensive units at that. He's got a lot of, you know, the light cav is not expensive. It's just food. So, speaking of food, a couple knights are harassing his backline right now, taking care of farmers and lumberjacks. Looks like one left there.
Meanwhile, at the south of Goob's base, pikemen show up from Green and head home.
Wasn't their day.
And now turn around and... Yeah, not sure.
Yeah, a little bit of a pathing issue maybe from Green's side.
Could be. Maybe those pikes saw that castle and thought, no, they want to do that.
thought better of it. Yep. Well, this could be a pretty good answer. I mean, you know, this is a tight space, not a lot of room to micro these Kipchaks, which is really his only answer to the pikemen, unless he makes some archers from the archery range. But Goob's gonna see these pikes. He's gonna run out with the Kipchaks as he tries to put a third town center down south.
Wow, Kipchaks will do a lot of damage to these pikemen before they can even engage.
A smart play from Goob, honestly, not waiting until they get into the base, getting out there into the open area where there's room to micro a little bit, to give them room to just clean up the rest of these pikemen. The Kipchak is a deadly unit, a deadly anti-infantry unit when it's massed up like this. So Goob's going to be able to start to put down that third TC as we see 3 Siege Workshop come up from Green, right north of Goob's base. Scorpions in the queue.
Starting to get into classic units for both of these players as Green will start to move towards Scorpion, as you said, and Goob coming out with some of his rams.
Definitely the choice Siege Workshop unit for both of these players. Goob's gonna make a bit of a push here. He knows this castle's deadly. The longbowmen are deadly. He can't get very close, but if all Green has is some archers, he's gonna be able to do some damage with these battering rams. He has a Kipchaks showing up to support the rams, take out the one knight, now one more knight. That's really Green's best chance of defending this castle.
Yeah, one of the disadvantages of having a ranged, unique unit coming out of your castle is that they really can't defend the castle very well at all. So without the knights there, all of a sudden that castle for Green will go down.
The Scorpion play was there, but it looks like there just wasn't quite enough to defend the castle, which is all that was really there left to keep the keep Pink's infantry and Cav at bay to build up the Scorpions.
Right. All of a sudden, pressure now flipping back on Green, knowing that he's got a good army mowing down his buildings and will soon be on the way to his home base.
That being the real difference maker here, because up until that moment, Green had honestly evened the tables a little bit. He brought the Eco KD back to almost even, being 23 to 26 in the favor of Pink. And so he was able to get the Vil lead back. He's up by 6 Vils right now on Goob. Pikeman trying to tickle Pink's south side here, but not quite enough to be a real problem yet.
Yeah, certainly not the unit of choice against that Kipchak. So how do you recover at home if you're green? No military, and really no, very few actually military production buildings. You'll have to build up in a hurry and hope that Goob takes its time.
We're going to see Double Bit Axe and Horse Collar come in. Not to berate this player, but 43 minutes into the game. If he wants to benefit from those eco upgrades, those have got to come out sooner. And I wonder, you know, Goobernugget does have Wheelbarrow. He does have Heavy Plow. Especially Wheelbarrow, you know, that one video by what's the guy who makes all the Hera.
Spirit of the Law.
Spirit of the Law video. He talks about how much of a benefit does Wheelbarrow actually give you. And the next one, Handcart, I believe, the Castle Age trade center town center upgrade isn't as much of a bump, but the benefit you get from Wheelbarrow, such as like when you get it early, having it all game, as opposed to getting it say halfway through the game. He says it's exponential. You know, so this difference is pretty huge. Goobernugget, not necessarily with a massive Vil lead the whole time, but getting the double TC out early and having those eco upgrades might have been a pretty big game changer here. 3,000 more resources collected. With I say that, the point being that, you know, we're later in the game, Goob's sitting at roughly 3,000 more resources collected and has had just about the same Vil count, you know, if not less on average, save that one time when he got those Vil kills, than Green.
Yeah, you're right. For Green to benefit at all from those technologies would have had to have come in a lot sooner. And of course, we do know that he was all in, trying to get that castle as soon as possible. Probably just shaving as much time and resources as possible to get that started. But it's with that all-in strategy, if it doesn't work, you're in a bad spot. And now the battle comes to Green, so he went 4 Scorpions, but most of the units for Goob were Cav type units. He had Camel, Scouts, and even the Kipchak. This could be the beginning of the end for Green.
And you say that about the all-in play, you know, that is what the fast forward castle is, and it's necessary. You know, I talk a lot about how Green is missing these eco upgrades, etc., but you can't afford to do that. You can't really afford to dive into those and spend all those resources when you're as all in as you are doing a forward castle, because the idea is you want the castle up, you want to start making elite units as early as possible to overpower quickly, you know, early and often. That's what the strategy is based on. So I talk a lot about those eco upgrades, but it really comes down to whether the fast castle works. If it works, he wins the game, you know? If it doesn't, it opens up the floor for avenues like this one. Goobernugget pulling out the victory.
Yeah, so we'll have a 1-1 score going into game 3. Nobody's surprised.
Not at all. I'd like to see, let's see. Yeah, here. I mean, it took let's see, roughly the whole game, a pretty average even Vil count for both players. And then when Goob was able to get those scouts in around the 30-minute mark, Michael Pig loses, you know, 20 odd Vils, and then 5 minutes later, he's able to make another push of his own and take the Vil lead back. by killing one of Goobsvilles and gets a 20ville lead of his own around the 40-minute mark, and then it's about even from that point. So, the the punches. I wonder what the timing is there. Goob punched Michael Pick's economy around the time that he had dropped the castle up north, hurting his military production.
Right.
Whereas Michael Pick's punch back at Goob's economy was kind of at a point where he was already making military. I don't think it was as a what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't as crucial of a moment to lose economy for Goob as I think it was for Michael Pick. It was necessary for him to have whatever economy he had as a backbone to that fast castle push. And without it, it's pretty crippling.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was using everything he had to just fuel that castle push, and when a piece of that goes down, you see it over at the castle. He's not able to produce these units, and is not able to complete the all-in strategy as we talked about.
And we see that pretty often from this matchup, too. Michael Pick has a very classic strategy of going fast castle most games. And Goobernugget's going to lean into whatever, elite unit his faction has, or whatever he leans into archers with the Ethiopians, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that's what's so fun about this matchup. They're so evenly matched because they really lean into their specialized strategies. And what's beautiful about that is that you can't have a perfect game every game. You make mistakes one game and then you execute it much better the next game. And these players are so evenly matched that I feel like we see it being every other game. Goob takes one game because he executes his strategy well, and he's able to get behind that fast castle and get under it, and that's a bad omen, for a fast castle push for a player like Lgreen. Whereas on the other side of things, when Lgreen is able to get that castle down, and Goobernugget's not able to get backline, eco push to cripple it, that's typically what spells defeat for Goobernugget. We've seen a couple, crazy games from both sides of that story, but I think that's what makes this matchup so exciting. We'll be going on to a game 3.
Yeah, can't wait.